Today, we're running into the camp to button it up for the season. Hey there, outdoor YouTubers. Dave Knetter from Knetter's Practical Outdoors, and going into the camp today to button it up for the winter. Michigan firearm rifle season's pretty much over, so we got to winterize the camp. But we got a partridge on the road, so I guess I gotta wait for that partridge to fluff up and do its thing a little bit here. I don't know. He doesn't seem too worried about us, but we don't really have all day, so we're gonna have to scoot him out of the road here. I don't mean to ruin your day, but sorry, we need to get through. Excuse me. All right, move along, move along, move along. Yeah, Nick, this is within 10 yards of where you shot your first partridge, huh? Yeah. All right, now that we got the partridge out of the way, we can continue on. Like I said, coming in, winterize the camp. Of course, there's always a few things you got to take care of. You're going to leave it unattended for a while. We'll probably come in, snowshoe or snowmobile in a couple times this winter, but again, there's a few things we need to do to get it set for the winter and to kind of winterize it. Yeah, so I like to pull my scrape drippers in when I'm done for the season. Sometimes if you leave them out through the winter and through the summer, I've had them disappear. I've had animals chew off the little rubber curlicue at the end, so I just like to pull these in and have them ready to go for next fall. Yeah, here's a scrape dripper that I did leave out here one off season, and like I said before, some animal or something ate the little curlicued rubber tube off the end, so that's why I do like to pull them in, you know, for the off season. And I'm also going to pull the game camera for the season. I'll actually set this up at a different spot kind of around the camp where we might get some coyotes or foxes or something like that. Alright, well, I'm going to kind of button up the deer blind too. I'm going to bring this stand back with me. I'm going to bring Mr. Heater. I'll use him for ice fishing a little bit. I might as well grab these propane tanks. Well, I think we'll dispose of this properly. We don't want this sitting in the deer blind all summer and have it explode or something, right? And then really, the only other thing that I really do, I get the window shut, and I just kind of cinch it down. I'll keep some of the critters out. I'll take these pads and kind of put them up where it's a little trickier. You know, if some kind of mouse finds its way in here, a little trickier for the mice to get. Kind of keep some of this stuff in a container, toilet paper, that sort of thing. Kind of makes it mouse proof for the off season. All right. Deer blind should be good for the off season. Yeah, this is a nice blind.
Gets the job done. Got this ventilation window up here that when I'm done for the season, I just kind of open it up.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I got a little vent that I screw in. And that way it can stay ventilated. It doesn't get musty and crappy.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, I've mentioned that in some of the other deer blind videos. That's a must for these completely sealed up blinds.
Yeah. Keeps the squirrels and mice and stuff out, but still lets you get some fresh air.
So we just pulled your hose out. Eh?
Yeah, so I run a bulk tank into my heater from a 20-pounder outside. And the first year I had it, I just kind of left this hole. I just put a piece of tin over it. And what ended up happening was you'd get a lot of condensation in here. But you want to keep the critters out, so I just made a plug with some tin foil wrapped around it. Plug that up real good.
Yep.
And, you know, that takes care of it right there.
Definitely.
Put that over the top of it. And this blind is winterized.
Perfect. And then the battery, that's for your cell phone booster, hey?
Yeah, in case this is the one place where we can kind of get some text messages with a booster or make a phone call with the booster. So we kind of flip the phone on and keep in touch with the real world a couple times a day.
Yeah, which is good for any family emergencies. It's good just for kind of checking on what's happening.
Yep.
And of course, we need to drain the water out of our holding tank here in the sauna. We're going to try to kind of recoup it. We do keep some water in this big blue bucket. It'll freeze at times over the winter, but if we come out maybe early spring, we might have some good water to use, that sort of thing. Anyways, I'm going to try to reclaim the water because we don't have a hand pump or a well or anything out here. We got to bring all our water out. So, you know, if we've got some decent water just sitting in the holding tank from deer season, we'll reclaim it and we'll stick it back in the blue bucket. And then we've mentioned this in other videos, but what you want to make sure and do is once all the water is drained out, go ahead and shut this valve. If you don't shut it, chances are you'll come back out in the winter maybe, and if you want to light the sauna, that valve's going to be froze open and you won't be able to add water to it. So I want to make sure and shut that going into the winter. Yeah, and it doesn't hurt to throw a load of wood right into the sauna too. Like I say, if we come out in the winter for one night or something and we want to take sauna, and we don't have to deal with going into the woodshed and tramping through the snow. We got a little wood already in there. Yeah, and we'll kind of shut down the outhouse. Grab out some of these in case a mouse were to sneak in. Might tear these up. Want to make sure. Leave the seat down for the winter. You know that if you leave the seat up, that might encourage a bear to hibernate in there or something. So, seat down. Make sure the door's latched up good. We don't want the door swinging open this winter and just sitting there flopping around all winter. And another thing, we want to make sure we didn't leave any water in any kind of pots, tea kettles, This one's empty. Okay, there's some water in this one. I'm gonna have to dump this out. Okay. Check this one. This one's empty. Alright, and then big jug. We'll be bringing this back in with us. If this baby freezes out here, it could crack and bust. Empty. And of course, guys, you can't leave your beer cans out in the winter either. They'll freeze and bust too. Okay, come around here. Okay, so we drained all the water out. So next thing we want to do, we want to get the that little bit of water that's left in the S drain of the sink. If you don't get that out, that can freeze and crack the pipe. I think most of you guys know, hey, that this water staying in this this S drain kind of provides a seal, so then the sewer stink doesn't come back up through the pipe and into the camp and stink the camp up like sewer. So that's the purpose of that, if you guys didn't know. But if you're going to leave this in freezing temperatures, you better drain it out or it's going to freeze and crack. And there we go. And we'll have to dump this outside. Yeah, another good thing to do is to fill up the wood box before you head into winter. That way, if we snowmobile out, snowshoe out, we'll have a good load of wood in here. Maybe we won't even have to deal with going into the woodshed if we're just coming out for one night. Alright. And then another thing we like to do, take the batteries out of some of the clocks. Maybe we'll leave the batteries in one of the clocks. And actually take the batteries out of the remotes. Okay. Just in case some corrosion were to start. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. If you ever leave batteries in something for too long, sometimes the batteries can kind of corrode and wreck stuff. So we just like to take the batteries out. Yep. Then another thing we like to do out here is just kind of put our bedding away in kind of a sort of a mouse-proof container. So far, we don't have mice in the camp, and we haven't in several years. But if one were to sneak in this this winter, I don't want them making a home inside my sleeping bag or the blankets, right? So I like to kind of stow this stuff away to help deter mouse nests. Right. We'll clear out the wheel of death here. Yep, trespassers again. And like I said before, we really don't seem to have mice in the camp, so we just keep the wheel of death in the shed to kind of minimize the mice living in there, chewing into things, that sort of thing. But we'll clear this out for the off season, and maybe we'll give the mice a break for the winter. Sam? All right. All right. Door's locked. Screen door shut. And then we actually added this deadbolt on the outside. And I know that seems a little weird, right? I mean, it's on the outside. It's kind of backwards, right? But what happened to us one off season, I'm sure it was maybe in the spring, I think a bear was playing around, and I think the bear actually pushed pushed on the door, and the door kind of sprung open. And we came out in the spring, this was just kind of flopping in the wind, and it was actually kind of bent and broke. And there's a few little claw marks around. So, anyways, we just kind of add that, you know, just in case an animal or somebody was to come up here and kind of press on that button, it wouldn't have the door pop open. Okay. And then we like to kind of close up the woodshed for the winter with this open face to the woodshed. Of course, snow will drift in, get the firewood all covered in snow. So we just kind of tarp it over a little bit, tarp over this this open doorway. Nothing too fancy. Just enough to kind of keep the snow from blowing in there. Yeah, we're just kind of out here. We're going to set up a few game cameras along the dam. Not so much to see if there's any beavers left, but just, you know, through the course of winter, there'll be some pretty neat animals utilizing this dam and crossing through here. Just kind of be able to see what we pick up this winter. We'll probably come in on snowshoes or snowmobile sometime this winter and check out the cameras. It'll be kind of neat. What we've got here is Scott got a little roof over his camera, and you know, what does that do for you?
Well, it's, you know, in the late fall and in the winter when we get snow and then we get sleet and we get more snow, it just keeps the camera more operable.
Yeah.
You know, it really does a good job of keeping a lot of stuff off of it that would otherwise make it inoperable for a week or a month, or for something like this where we're going to put it out after deer season and just see if we're getting any critters traveling along the beaver dam. Mm-hmm. You know, it might be inoperable for a month and a half.
Yeah, it'll essentially get covered in snow and just it won't function anymore. Yeah.
And then you just have 8 dead batteries.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, no, it works pretty good.
Yeah, so for any of you guys that put cameras out in the snow, that little roof helps a lot to keep the snow from building up over the camera lens, the sensor, the flash, whatever it might be. Anybody that's used game cameras where it snows, you've probably experienced that.
Prepared for another 2.5 or 3 feet of snow, you want to make sure your camera's still working, you know?
Right, yeah.
So this maybe is a little bit low. Right now it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah.
But a month and a half from now it probably is. We're going to bring it up just a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, that's something not everybody would think about when setting out these long-term cameras. Of course, not everybody gets the snow totals that we get in this area either, hey? Or, you know, if you can kind of have some cover above you to kind of keep snow from building up on it. You know, you're probably going to get some, you know, you get a windy snowstorm, you're probably going to get some buildup on the camera, but hopefully it'll melt here and there throughout the winter. But you got a little bit of a canopy above this, and again, like we talked about before, you do need to mount it pretty high. You know, you got to imagine we're going to get several feet of snow, so we're going to mount this camera pretty high so it doesn't get buried with just the snow falling on the ground. Alright guys, so we got the camp all buttoned up. Put several game cameras out for the off season. You know, see what we get there. It's always kind of interesting and exciting to check the game cameras after a few months in the woods. But anyways, hey guys, remember to hunt, fish, laugh, repeat. It's Dave Knetter from Knetter's Practical Outdoors. Hey, thanks for watching and God bless.